The first Bajaj Pulsar NS400Z, it had an amazing brochure, a great price. But in reality, it was not that great a motorcycle. The question today is this 2025 model going to narrow the gap between reality and the expectations it sets? The 2024 View story on this motorcycle, I concluded that I didn't really think that you should buy one. And that's despite how good of a deal it represented, because to me, you can't corner a deal. A deal doesn't get its peg scraping. A deal cannot get your knee down. And when you think about your memories top 10, deals are never part of that memory set. Motorcycles are. And a good motorcycle's job is to create those memories for you. I need to remind you about MotorInc Circles. MotorInc Circles is a free-to-use, beautiful corner of our MotorInc app where some really interesting stuff is going on. But what I really love about MotorInc Fam is on Circles, they're proving to be enduringly warm, thoughtful, thought-provoking, and helpful. And that means if you come to Circles and ask a question or tell us something that you've done with your car and bike, you will find resonance. And I know it sounds like I'm selling it, but I actually think if you're not in Circles, you're missing out. MotorInc Circles is free to use, and MotorInc, the app, is also free to download. You really should check it out. And now, let's get back to the Pulsar NS400Z. For 2025, is it worth buying? It's noticeably better, easier to recommend, and there's just a little bit of work left now. What Bajaj has worked on is everything we said was an NS400Z issue, while leaving two things alone. First, what's not broken, like comfort. And second, what couldn't be fixed on this timeline in the first place, like design. And therefore, the big change to me first is the retuning of the engine up to 43 PS. If you remember, this is exactly what happened to the Dominar 400 also, which came in a lower state of tune, and then Bajaj upped the state of tune. They've done it again. Rain mode remains more or less where it was, but in all the other modes you have access to the full 43 PS of performance. And last time, the difference between road and sport, you'd need a microscope to tell them apart, but now the sport mode is brand new, it's supposed to be more aggressive, and it should return a sense of verve to this sport naked motorcycle. Next, the 2024 chassis felt compact, it felt responsive, and then beyond a certain speed, it just felt vague and unsettling. That's history now, because you've got much better, grippier, wider Apollo H1 radial tires, big change. You've got more reinforcements in the back half of the chassis, important change. And this time, Bajaj is not skimping on the front disc pads. They're finally sintered, and that should make the chassis a lot more responsive and at most speeds a lot more confident. So how does it come together? Now, if you're a regular on MotorInc, you might feel like you've heard what I'm saying before, and that would be because I am using parts of the old View story. And why shouldn't I? This bike does. The biggest deal in the Pulsar story remains its performance. In some of the riding modes, this will still feel calm and restrained, but the torque flow feels a lot more robust. You're going to notice it. And again, calm and restrained is not a bad thing. You can think of it as a good thing for new riders who will experience this kind of performance for the first time. And that means most of us around the city will think, competent, powerful motorcycle. It's not the most flexible of engines, but even if you let the revs drop, keep the gears high, you will make swift progress. And the overall impression you'll get is powerful, torquey, easy to ride, reasonably smooth, and these are all good things. Out on the highway, anything from 60 to 120 kilometers an hour in cruise will work. Vibration, it's come down a little bit from the last model. There is still some transient vibration in the middle revs, and now there is a higher red line, and as you get close to it, you'll notice two things. One is the extra performance, it's really nice, and that little extra sense of strain which has come with it, which I don't think is a deal breaker. Rain mode is pretty restrained and mild, as you'd expect. Road mode, it still feels calm, but now it has extra torque everywhere, and you will notice that difference. But the truly great riding mode, the one I enjoyed the most, is the new aggressive sport mode, which really does feel nice. Fair warning there, Bajaj likes to use really light throttle springs, and if you're in sport mode, which is the engine is very responsive, when you go over bad roads, your hand can move a little bit on the throttle and cause a little bit of acceleration. It'll feel like bad fueling. And as soon as the road settles down into being a good road, that feeling goes away. It's not scary, it's not unsettling, it's just something you want to watch out for. Power builds rapidly from 6000 RPM all the way to the red line. And up there, it feels really fast and powerful. Fuel economy, if you ride aggressively, you'll see 21, 22. Most of us will see 24, 25 kilometers per liter, which is pretty decent. And as I warned you the last time, this motorcycle does put some amount of heat on your legs. You are going to have to figure out how much heat you think is acceptable, because the baseline is fast engines make heat. You can't escape that. Now, performance may be the headline for the NS400Z, but its best asset to me has always been comfort. This riding position, it'll feel familiar to anyone who's ridden an NS200. This is a reasonably comfortable seat, a tall enough handlebar, your feet are folded up but not too much. You can ride this motorcycle for long durations. No real aches and pains are coming from that. And part of that picture is also the suspension, which again, it works out to be comfortable enough in most situations. It is set up to feel sporty, and therefore there is constant feedback from the road, but it never gets to a point where you think it's annoying, out of character, or outrageously uncomfortable. Where the Pulsar unravels is in the corners, and that's the reason I can't recommend one. That's what I said in 2024. The 2025, all that vagueness is gone. It goes where you point it, it takes lean angles confidently and neatly. Everything feels as it should. I will remind you, this motorcycle sits on a relatively short wheelbase, which means it will react quickly to your inputs. It's going to feel compact, but because it has good tires now, because the chassis is reinforced, it feels confident and trustworthy at almost all speeds now. There's just one minor issue left. And that would be that if you were to hit bumps in the middle of fast corners, specifically, this motorcycle will momentarily lose its composure and then regain it. The first time it happened, honestly, I wasn't scared of it. Then I learned to expect it. But what that means to me is there is still room for this chassis to be finessed further. On the flip side, the brakes are a massive improvement. NS, last time around, it felt like not slowing. And that's because of those horrible organic pads which are now history. These are sintered. And to you as a rider, that means you can control them. There's better bite, there's more feel. Most importantly, they're now in character with the rest of this motorcycle. In terms of living with it, there are no real surprises. It's all the same as the 2024 model. So I'm going to skip ahead and leave all the details for you in the FAQ set for this motorcycle, which should to me be about 12 videos in all. Each of those videos cover one aspect of the motorcycle in great detail, like comfort or riding modes or whatever. Now, what I would encourage you to do is go onto the MotorInc app. It's free to download. Look for the guide for the 2025 NS400Z. You'll discover photographs, text, and up to 15 videos that discuss this motorcycle in clear, compact detail so you can reach a conclusion very quickly. And now I want to talk about an issue that was in 2024 and remains in 2025 exactly where it was. You see, the design for 2025 has not changed in any way at all, and to me this is a problem. See, already when one of these motorcycles goes by in traffic, I can't tell whether an NS200 went by or a 400Z went by. Worse, there is a difference in quality, and if you park a today's production NS200 next to one of these, you can immediately see that this has better finish and quality overall. But the design is just not different enough, and that is important because this motorcycle is supposed to signal your arrival into the 40 bhp club for the first time. And to me, the design takes away from that sense of status. I think this is really important. The more I see this bike in the flesh, the more I think about this as an idea. See, the person who's buying an NS400Z, they're stretching to get into what effectively is the bottom of the 400cc class. They need to feel like they've arrived in the cool kids club. To sum this up, the 2025 NS400Z is definitely a good upgrade from the 2024. There is absolutely no doubt about this. This motorcycle has always had all the right bits in place, at least on paper. And now it has more power, it produces better feelings, and the price is still very, very nice. But I still have the same question that I did the last time. Is this going to feel special enough for somebody entering the 400cc class for the first time? Take that LCD screen, for example. It remains cluttered, it is hard to read, the blue information screen has not enough contrast, the menus are all over the place, and honestly, the more I've ridden this motorcycle, the more the LCD cluster has infuriated me. And I wonder, will it feel special enough? The additional year of work that Bajaj has done, that has helped. And if you're planning to buy one, do go get a test ride and see how you feel about the motorcycle, because the gap between the promise on the brochure and what you'll bring home in terms of expectation and your dreams, they are closer together. But to me personally, I still think that the NS400Z has not clicked together into a motorcycle with a great price and good feelings. There's still more room to cover. And the reason why I'm not worried about it at all is because, hey, there will be a 2026 model, right?